Welcome back to The Mind, a podcast series by the Ramakrishna Vedanta Centre, New Zealand. A conversation at the meeting point of modern science and the contemplative traditions of yoga and Vedanta. I'm Rama, your host. Last time, the group learned that everything you experience is a wave, a vritti, rising and passing in the mind. Today, they take the next step, and it's a big one. If experience is a wave, then where does it come from? The answer turns out to be surprising. A perception is not a thing the world hands you, it is a meeting. Two waves, the world's and your own, coming together and adding up into the single thing you actually live. Swamiji will show why this means you never quite meet the bare world, why two people can sit through the same moment and walk away from different ones, and why the part you bring is the part you can train. Interference, how the knower meets the known. Let's join them. The same room, the same circle of chairs, tea going round. Dr. Watson has a small notebook open on her knee, already a little dog-eared.
Before we go on, tell me how the week went. Last time I asked you to read your waves, to name what kind, how big, how fast. What did you notice?
The naming worked more than I expected. My daughter slammed a door and I felt the old surge. But this time I caught it. Imagination wave, large and fast. A story about a future that hasn't happened. Just saying it slowed me by a beat. I still went and talked to her, but I went as myself, not as the surge.
Mine was the alignment dial. I started watching whether the room and I were pulling together or scattered. Friday afternoon, completely scattered, and for once I didn't take it as a verdict on my teaching. I just saw it. The waves aren't in step today.
I did the scrolling one. Name the wave that pulls my hand to the phone. Craving wave, fast. And the flat one after. Didn't always stop me, but a couple of times I watched it rise and just didn't obey it. That was new.
I tried it on myself between patients, as you suggested, and then with one woman who keeps saying, "I'm an anxious person." I offered, very gently, what if it's a wave that's here right now, rather than who you are? She went quiet, then said, "No one's ever put it like that. Small thing, but something opened."
That something is the whole of this work. You each found the same door from a different side. Now today we look at how a single one of those waves is actually built. Because a perception, it turns out, is never one wave. It is always two, meeting. Kai, you study by a window, yes? Picture a still pond. Drop one stone, and you get a ring of ripples spreading out. Now drop a second stone a little way off. What happens where the two sets of ripples reach each other?
They overlap. You get that crisscross pattern. Some spots where the water heaps up high, some where it goes almost flat.
Exactly. And here is the quiet miracle physicists noticed long ago. The two sets of ripples don't crash and destroy each other. Each one carries straight on, fully itself. The water simply adds them together at every point. Where two crests meet, the water rises double. Where a crest meets a trough, they cancel, and the surface goes still. That heaping and cancelling pattern belongs to neither stone alone. It exists only in their meeting.
So the pattern is real, but it's not in either stone.
Beautifully said, Sarah. Hold on to that, because now I'm going to tell you something that may take a moment to land. Every perception you have ever had works exactly this way. There is a wave coming from the world, the sight, the sound, the words of a friend. Call it the world's wave. And there is a wave you bring, your attention, your mood, your state of mind in that instant. Call it your wave. And what you actually experience is never the world's wave by itself. It is the two of them, added together, the meeting. You live in the crisscross pattern, not in either stone.
That's a strong claim. You're saying I never perceive the bare world at all?
Never, doctor. And you have proof in your own consulting room. Two patients hear the identical sentence from you, the same words, the same tone, and one is reassured and one is wounded. The world's wave was the same, their waves were different. So the meeting, the thing each one actually lived, was different. You did not hand them an experience, you offered a wave, and each of them met it with their own.
That reframes half my conversations. The news is never just the news.
Never just the news. And notice what this meeting produces. When the two waves add up, the result has two layers folded together. There is the content, the actual what of it, the words, the picture, the meaning. And there is the feel of it, the sense of how clearly, how fully it's landing. Sarah, you've sat with a friend who was telling you something important, and one day it lands deep and clear, and another day, the very same kind of conversation feels like it's happening behind glass.
Yes, and I always blamed the day, or blamed them. I never thought it might be the meeting itself.
It is almost always the meeting. The content arrived both times. What changed was how your wave met it. And here's the part that should give every one of us hope. The world's wave, you usually can't change. Your friend says what they say. The exam is on Tuesday. But your wave, the one you bring, that one can be trained. Which means the meeting can change even when the world will not. That single fact is the seed of every practice in this whole contemplative tradition.
Okay, that's less woolly than I feared. You're not telling me to think positive and pretend the stone isn't there. You're saying there are two stones, and I only get a say over one of them.
Precisely, Kai. Reality is not yours to rewrite. Your wave is yours to settle. The work is all on your side of the pond. Now I want to show you what governs whether a meeting feels clear or rough. Kai, have you ever heard two musicians tuning, or two notes played that are almost but not quite the same?
Yeah, you get that wobble, a wh thing. The sound swelling and fading.
That wobble is one of the most important things in this whole module, so let's name it well. When two waves are close in rhythm but not identical, their meeting produces a slow pulse, full, then thin, then full again. Musicians call it the beat. It happens because moment by moment, the two waves drift in and out of step, reinforcing, then cancelling, then reinforcing. And here is the key. The further apart the two rhythms are, the faster and rougher that pulse. The closer they come, the slower and gentler it gets.
And if they match exactly,
Then the beat vanishes entirely. No wobble at all. One steady, full, unbroken tone. This is exactly what a piano tuner listens for. She strikes her tuning fork and the string together, and she does not listen to either note. She listens to the beat between them. Far off pitch, it's a rapid flutter. As she tightens the string and the two rhythms approach, the beat slows. Wah, wah, wah. And at the instant they coincide, the beat disappears, and the ear can no longer find two notes in the sound at all. Just one full tone.
So the wobble is the gap between them, made audible.
The gap made audible. And now bring it home to the mind. When your wave and the world's wave are far apart in rhythm, you feel the beat. The experience flickers, attention strains. Something is not landing. You feel separate from what you're looking at, like it's behind glass. When your wave comes close to the world's rhythm, the beat slows, and you feel absorbed, easy, connected. The content streams through clear and unbroken. And in those rare moments when your wave meets the world's exactly, the beat ceases, and there is simply full, steady presence. The thing you're attending to fills the whole field. You've lost the sense of straining toward it from a distance.
This is what athletes and musicians call flow, isn't it? The self-consciousness drops away and you're just in it.
It is exactly flow, Doctor, and the contemplative tradition has known it for a very long time. When the mind's rhythm so fully meets what it rests on that no gap remains, the contemplatives call it samādhi, complete absorption. Patanjali describes it as the mind becoming as if empty of itself, with the object alone shining. Not the mind destroyed, the gap dissolved, the piano tuner's vanished beat in the field of awareness.
Can I bring this into a classroom? Because I think you've just described both my best and worst lessons.
Please.
A student who can't do maths, maybe their capacity is fine, maybe their wave is just far from the materials, anxious, bored, braced, so there's this fast, rough beat and the content gets chopped into fragments they can't hold. The information's all there, it just keeps getting cut off.
That is a profound reading, James, and it changes what you do next. The instinct is to give more content, explain harder. But if the problem is the gap, then more content down a rough channel just arrives in more fragments. The first move is not more information, it's closing the gap, meeting the student's rhythm, linking to something they already feel at home in, building a small success so the bracing softens. Shrink the gap, and the very same material suddenly streams through whole. That moment students call getting it is the beat going quiet.
That's true of my teenagers too. When I come at them fast and braced, nothing lands, however right I am. When I slow down and actually meet them, the same words get through.
Because you closed the gap, Sarah. You can almost never win by changing what you say. You win by changing the wave you bring it with.
I want to test the model on a hard case. I have patients who are, by any measure, present. They show up, they look at me, they listen. And nothing gets through. They're behind glass, even when they're trying. Closing the gap doesn't seem to be the whole story.
It isn't, Doctor, and you've found the second thing your wave carries. It carries a rhythm, yes, which we've just discussed. But it also arrives at every meeting already tilted, angled a certain way before the meeting even begins. The contemplative tradition has a name for that built-in angle. We met it last module. Ahankara, the sense of I and mine. It's the habit of turning every encounter, before it's even finished arriving, toward, what does this mean about me?
Oh, I know that one intimately.
We all do. Listen to ordinary speech, and you'll hear it everywhere. How does this affect me? What are they saying about me? What does this make me? That angling isn't created by the encounter. It's brought to the encounter, like a posture you're already standing in before the other person speaks. And here's what it does to the meeting. Even when your rhythm matches the world's perfectly, if you arrive heavily tilted toward yourself, the meeting loses its fullness. The waves are in tune, but they're not squarely facing each other, so they don't fully add up.
So you can be perfectly tuned in and still half empty, because you're really only listening for the bit that's about you.
That is exactly it, Kai. And at the extreme, the tilt is so complete that the waves actually cancel. The person is looking, listening, technically there, and nothing whatsoever arrives, because every offer the world makes is met by a counter-move of self-concern. Each of us has talked to someone who was fully present in body and entirely absent in the meeting. And, if we're honest, each of us has been that someone.
That's my hard case exactly. Not a gap in rhythm, a wall of self-reference. The patient ruminating so hard on themselves that the room can't reach them.
And notice, That's not a moral failure. It's a posture, a tilt, often one laid down by years of fear or hurt, which means it can be gently released, the way you'd ease a clenched shoulder. Sarah, here's the everyday shape of it. A friend says, "I want to talk to you about something." What happens in you?
Instant brace. What have I done? They're upset with me. Before they've said a single thing more.
Before a single thing more, the meeting has already been tilted toward what this says about me, and now whatever they actually say, even if it's warm and collaborative, has to arrive through that brace. The beat turns rough. You hear threat in neutral words. But suppose in that gap, you took one slow breath and remembered, "I'm fundamentally okay here. Let me just listen." The tilt eases. The same words meet a straighter wave, and you hear what's really in their tone. Real conversation becomes possible. Nothing changed in what they said. You changed the angle you brought.
This is the whole of difficult parents' evenings for me. If I arrive defended, every question sounds like an attack. If I arrive open, the same questions are just questions.
The same questions are just questions. You've named it perfectly, James. So your wave brings two things you can work with. A rhythm, which you can bring closer to the world's, and a tilt, which you can gently let go of. Close the gap, release the angle, and the world arrives more fully. That is not mysticism. It's the mechanics of a meeting.
Can I push on something? You keep saying the two waves meet, but two ripples can only meet if they're in the same pond. What's the shared pond for my wave and the world's wave? Because that sounds like it matters.
Kai, you've just walked us to the deepest point in the lesson, faster than I meant to get there. You're right. Two sound waves can only meet because they're both movements of the same air. A sound wave and an ocean wave can't meet at all. They have no shared medium. So if your wave and the world's wave genuinely meet, and your every experience says they do, then they too must be movements of one shared something. The contemplative tradition's answer is that the shared pond is consciousness itself. The world's wave is consciousness moving as the known. Your wave is consciousness moving as the knower. Not two substances mysteriously bridging a gap, but two ripples on one water. That's the only reason a meeting is possible at all.
That's a quiet bombshell, the knower and the known being two motions of one thing.
And it carries one more gift, then we'll rest it. Remember the pond. When two ripples meet, nothing new is actually created. The water was always just water. The crisscross pattern, all that drama of heaping and cancelling, is an appearance that arises in the meeting with no new substance added. The contemplative tradition says the same of our felt sense of separation, the sense of me in here, world out there. It's a real appearance, but it's an appearance arising in the meeting, not a new thing made. Which is exactly why practice doesn't have to destroy the world or manufacture some special state. It only has to ease the misalignment, close the gap, release the tilt, and let what was always there show through. The water was never actually divided.
Everything so far assumes a fairly settled mind, where two waves simply add. But most of my patients aren't in that state. They're stressed, exhausted, flooded. Does the model still hold when someone is overwhelmed?
A crucial question, Doctor, and the honest answer is that it changes character. A settled mind is like calm water. Two waves meet and add cleanly, and what you get is faithful to what arrived. But push any system too hard, crank it up past its limits, and it stops responding cleanly. It starts to distort. And here's the unsettling part from physics. An overdriven system doesn't just blur the signal. It begins to manufacture rhythms that were never in either wave to begin with. The mind under heavy stress does the same. It generates feelings and alarms that correspond to nothing actually present, and it can't tell them apart from what truly arrives.
That's it. That's the 3 a.m. spiral exactly. The fear feels totally real, but in the morning, there's nothing there it was about.
Because it was manufactured by an overdriven system, Sarah not received from the world. Let me give the group a few shapes of this, the ones Dr. Watson meets daily. When arousal runs chronically high, everything registers as urgent. A mild comment lands as criticism, a small delay as rejection. The system has lost its sense of proportion. In anxiety, several rhythms run at once. The racing heart, the spinning worry, an old memory stirring, and an overdriven mind blends them into a phantom danger signal that matches nothing in the actual room. This is why an anxious person often can't simply reason their way out. The trouble isn't faulty logic. It's a field generating false alarms.
And rumination?
Rumination is the loop. A thought arises. I made a mistake. It stirs a bodily response. Tension. Shame. That response feeds back and amplifies the thought, which stirs more response, and round it goes, growing. That's why just stop thinking about it rarely works. The system has begun feeding itself. And at the far end, under extreme load, the whole thing can saturate and flatten into panic, or a kind of numb shutdown, where all the fine detail of experience is simply gone.
So what actually breaks the loop? Because willpower clearly doesn't.
Willpower fights the waves, and you can't win that way. What works is lowering the drive, bringing the system back to the calm water where meetings are honest again. And this is wonderfully concrete. Slow the breath, and arousal drops. Reduce the incoming stimulation. Return to a steady routine. Borrow the steadiness of one calm person or of a simple, repeated practice. None of this argues with the thoughts. It lowers the storm beneath them until two waves can meet cleanly once more. The old practices, slow breathing, quiet, rhythm, steady company, are not quaint. They're precisely the tools for guiding an overdriven system back to where it can perceive truly.
And clinically, that's why I can't just hand someone an insight when they're flooded. I have to help the body settle first, then the insight can land.
Body first, then meeting, then meaning. You've put the whole sequence in order, Doctor. When the water is wild, no teaching gets through. Not because the person is failing, but because the system is busy making its own weather. Settle the water, even a little, and the same person can suddenly meet the world again. That's not a lesser, preliminary step. Very often it is the healing.
That takes a load of guilt off, honestly. On the bad nights, I'm not weak. The water's just wild, and I can settle it instead of arguing with it.
You can settle it, Sarah, gently and reliably, and the settling is a skill that grows. That is a kinder and truer place to stand than "what's wrong with me?" This week, one practice, and it follows directly from today. Before an encounter that matters, take a moment to settle and straighten the one wave you actually govern, your own. 3 slow breaths to calm the rhythm and a quiet releasing of the tilt. Let me meet this, not defend against it. Then notice whether the meeting itself changes, even though the other person or the situation hasn't. Sarah, choose one charged moment with your children, the kind where you usually arrive already braced. Before you speak, 3 breaths, and drop the question, what does this say about me as a mother? Just meet them. Afterward, notice what landed differently.
Settle my wave before I walk in, Not after it's gone wrong. I can do that.
James, pick one student or one parent you tend to meet with a rough beat. Before the conversation, close the gap deliberately. Recall something you genuinely appreciate about them, so you arrive closer to their rhythm. Watch whether the same words go further.
Arrive having already closed the gap. Good. I'll try it Friday.
Kai, this one's about noticing rather than fixing. In one conversation, catch the moment you stop listening and start waiting for your turn to speak. That's the tilt arriving. Just notice it, take a breath, and come back to actually meeting them. See what you'd have missed.
Catch the tilt, re-arrive. Yeah, I can watch for that.
And Dr. Watson, two things, since you carry this into a clinic. For yourself, before one consultation a day, take 3 breaths in the corridor and consciously straighten your own wave before you open the door. Notice whether the room feels different. And with one suitable patient, offer the reframe gently that how a piece of news lands is partly the meeting, and the meeting is something we can learn to settle, starting with the breath. Tell us next time what you found, in yourself and in them.
Straighten my own wave before the door, then offer the settling to one patient. I'll bring back what happens.
Then we've done today's work. Next time we'll find that even this meeting isn't the beginning of the story. Before your attention ever meets the world's wave has already passed through the whole of your past. And that changes what arrives before you ever get a say.
And there is the turn at the heart of today. You do not receive the world, you meet it. Every experience is 2 waves added together, the world's and your own, and you live in their meeting, not in the world alone. When your rhythm is far from the world's, you feel the rough beat of separation. As it comes close, the beat slows into absorption, and your wave also arrives tilted by the old habit of me and mine, an angle you can gently release. You rarely get to change the world's wave, but the wave you bring, its rhythm and its tilt, is the one you can train. And when the mind is flooded, the kindest first move is simply to settle the water, slow the breath, steady the rhythm, so a clean meeting becomes possible again. To go deeper, the full Lesson 3.2 is available in the course Beginners, Conversations on the Mind in the Light of Modern and Spiritual Sciences on the Ramakrishna Vedanta Center's website, www.vedanta.nz. It is also available as an app on Google Play and the Apple App Store by searching for Vedanta NZ. Next time, how your whole past quietly filters the world before your attention ever meets it. Until then, be gentle with your mind.